All right, so I'm going to teach you how to use your unit circle to find trig functions, okay? And I'm giving a very easy example, negative 510. Well, I want you to look at your unit circle and see that negative 510 isn't on your unit circle, correct? It only goes from 0 to 360. So what we're going to do, since this is a negative 510, is we're going to get it out of the woods and find the angle that's equal to between 0 and 360. So what you're going to do is you're going to take negative 510 and keep adding 360 to it until you get an angle that's positive. Go. That's so we find that negative 510 is the same as positive 210 when you subtract 360 from it a couple times. So we got it out of the woods and we got a number that, yes, is on the unit circle. If you look in the third quadrant, 210 is on the unit circle. And next to 210, okay. And so next to the 210 is this coordinate pair and then the tangent that you wrote on there for that homework assignment. Got it? Well, the first three are very easy. The first guy in the coordinate pair is your cosine. The second guy in the coordinate pair is your sine. And the tangent is the guy you got for homework that night. Got it? So you've got 3 out of the 6 right there. So to find the secant, you flip the cosine upside down because secant and cosine go together. On your formula sheet, you have a formula that says cosine equals secant equals 1 over cosine, which means flip cosine to find secant. So here you got to get the radical out of the basement, and this is going to be equal to 2 root 3 over 3. So your secant is 2 root 3 over 3. So far, so good? And that's going to be a negative because this one was a negative. When you flip a negative fraction, you get a negative. Yeah? Now, what's the reciprocal of negative 1/2? Negative 2. Sign is the same. And now we've got to flip root 3 over 3 to get the reciprocal of tangent, which is your cotangent. And that's 3 root 3 over 3. The 3's bite the dust, so it's positive root 3. Everybody get that? So if I ask you for the cotangent of 810 degrees, first, the thing you're going to do is get that 810 and make it a number between 0 and 360 by subtracting 360 until you get a number between 0 and 360. So go ahead and do that and tell me what it is. So we get that 810 when you subtract 360 twice, or 7/21, is the same as the cotangent of 90. So we're going to go to your unit circle, and your 90 is right up here, right? And next to it is a 0, 1, and an undefined. So this is your tangent. If tangent of 90 is undefined, what is the cotangent of 90? What is the reciprocal of undefined? The reciprocal of undefined is 0. Well, look at this. If your tangent is 1 over 0, because it's sine over cosine, right? Your cotangent is 0 over 1, and that's equal to 0. So the reciprocal of undefined is 0. The reciprocal of 0 is undefined. So if you're flipping a 0, you get undefined. If you're flipping an undefined, you get 0. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw that point. And negative 7, 6, you don't have to do all your tick marks, is up here in quadrant 2. That's 5th grade math, so you should be able to do that, right? And you're going to take your pencil from the center and connect that dot and then connect it back to the x-axis. Your angle should always come out of the center, and you always should connect your triangle to the x-axis. Everybody get that?
Yeah.
So if we have negative 7, 6, that's this point right here. That means this point, this side here is negative 7, and this side here is 6. Because when you're graphing a point, you go left 7 and up 6, right?
Yeah.
So we have to find the third side of that triangle. What do we use to find it?
The formula thing.
A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So we have negative 7 squared plus 6 squared. And if you don't use parentheses here, you're going to get in big trouble. You can actually leave off the negative signs, and it's the same difference. So 49 plus 36 equals c squared. And that is 85 maybe? So this side here would be the square root of 85. The hypotenuse is never going to be negative. The only things that are negative are any points that have a negative 7 or a negative 6 or a negative 4. But your hypotenuse is always going to be positive, okay? So I'm going to show you a little trick. You're going to have to find cosine of theta, sine of theta, tangent of theta, and then you're going to have to find secant of theta, cosecant of theta, and cotangent of theta. I always put the guys opposite who they go with. Cosine goes with secant, the c goes with the s, and the s goes with the c. Sine goes with cosecant, and tangent and cotangent go together, which is the easiest to remember because they both have the word tangent in them. All right? All right, so let's just start with cosine. And cosine of an angle, I write SOHCAHTOA up on the board somewhere. So I have it. And cosine of an angle is adjacent over hypotenuse, which is negative 7. And I do this off to the side and then put my final answer up there because you don't have enough room. Negative 7 over root 85. But you can't have a radical in the basement. And so you have negative 7 root 85 over 85. And then you just make sure that 7 over 85 can't simplify, which it cannot. And so your answer is negative 7 root 85 over 85. Got it?
Yes.
Why is it?
Since secant's the reciprocal of cosine, I don't turn that answer upside down. What I turn upside down is this answer, because then the radical will be upstairs and you don't have to do any rationalization. Find the sine, it's going to be 6 over root 85. And you multiply that by root 85 over root 85. And you get 6 root 85 over 85. Now that's positive because the 6 is positive. And for cosecant, you're going to flip this guy, root 85 over 6, because that was the simplest thing to flip. And you don't have to worry about rationalizing that. And that's going to be positive. If the sine is positive, his cousin cosecant's positive. If the cosine's negative, his cousin secant is negative. Got it? Tangent's the easiest because we don't have any radicals involved. It's opposite over adjacent. So it's going to be negative 6/7. And the other side is going to be negative 7/6. At the beginning of the year, I had you put A, S, T, C on your unit circles. Everybody have that on there? Before you leave this problem, check your signs. All students take calculus. This triangle's in the second quadrant, and it has an S on there. That means your sine and his cousin should be the only positive trig functions. And look at this. Everybody else has a negative sign. You see them? Cosine's negative, secant's negative, tangent's negative, and cotangent's negative. If you want to ignore all the signs till the end and put your negatives on, you can do it that way. That's actually how I do it. But whatever you do, check your signs before you leave and make sure you've got the right sign. Because I do take off a half a point when you get the wrong sign. Okay?